100% certainty of impact.
Please, don't say 100%.
So we just call it a potentially significant event.
But it isn't potentially going to happen.
99.78% to be exact.
Oh, great. Okay, so it's not 100%.
Call it 70% and let's move on.
But it's not even close to 70%.
Let's just use like 60% as a working number.
One of the problems that we have in people understanding science is that they have been schooled to think that it has to be certain, that we have to know with complete certainty. They want to know how certain. Well, 99.7% certain. Oh, well, then you're not certain at all. And that's a very uncomfortable place for scientists.
This comet hurtling towards us from deep space actually contains at least $32 trillion of these critical materials.
I think we're in deep trouble if we rely on the people with money to try to figure this stuff out, because their goal is to make more money.
I think it was Elon Musk and Bill Gates. I think it was a mashup of all the tech billionaires who are looked upon as, geniuses and inventors, and they are to some extent, but it's not clear that they're all going to save us.
I think in many ways, they are parroting Jeff Bezos as well. When he came back from space, spending this phenomenal amount of money for him to go up and check it out, of how he said, oh, this is wonderful. We should put all our pollutants out in space. We should save this beautiful planet we have here by offloading all the stuff that's we don't want to have on the planet out into space.
Now, what could go wrong with that solution?
What the hell is that? Fucking lied to us.
Another one that strikes me is that people needed to see the comet before they would believe it. And all of a sudden there's conversion. That's not realistic. We don't see that with climate change. We have these massive hurricanes, we have the fires in Boulder, we have flooding, we have all these things happening, and yet so many people are still in denial. And I think COVID has been shocking in that regard, that we have seen people on ventilators dying who are trying to tell their doctors, I couldn't possibly have COVID, it's a hoax. So we're in worse shape than the movie would note.
Are you at all concerned about the sink on the beat explosions? I know the study shows how debris from the comet could...
Fears and...
Doubt is sown by corporations and politicians often. So they want you to doubt because then you're less likely to press for action. So Exxon, for example, the tobacco companies in terms of smoking and cancer links, all of that, they pay big PR firms to make you think that there is some doubt, that the fact that it isn't completely 100% means, then we don't really know. And that is really problematic. So what's called manufactured doubt, we see a lot of that playing out.
We just keep the bad news light.
And sometimes things aren't light. The pandemic has killed over 800,000 people. There's really not a light interpretation of that. And climate change is dire. I think it's this concern on the part of public figures that we can't treat people like adults. We must be honest about the threats we face. It's true that some of us may react poorly, but overall, people often rise to meet a crisis head on. And really, what choice is there?
Oh, great. Okay, so it's not 100%.
And that's a very uncomfortable place for scientists when they watch that that's how people are interpreting that, because in fact, that means we do know for certain. It's that science always is tentative. We always think about science having this underlying assumption that we can continue to seek for more evidence, that we are never going to quit looking. We're going to keep studying, keep doing research. That's what scientists do. But this absence of certainty flummoxes people. So one of the things that's going on with COVID, we have to keep reminding people this is a novel coronavirus. We did not know anything about it when it started. So we were all washing our groceries when we brought them in the house because we didn't know how it was transmitted. Then when we were told, oh, it's respiratory, you don't need to do that anymore, people got upset, like, oh, you're flip-flopping. No, they're not. They're not flip-flopping. They're very methodically catching up with new evidence and giving us new advice. We need to understand that science always operates with tentativeness about findings, and that often we have to make policy decisions without knowing for certain.
Business? This is evolution.
I think we're in deep trouble if we rely on the people with money to try to figure this stuff out, because their goal is to make more money. So that's a real problem, and the movie illustrated that very well. I mean, occasionally we get people like Bill Gates who want to challenge malaria in Africa, who are using their money for really good purposes. Sadly, there is no one telling them they have to do that, and often they don't. I think Bezos is a wonderful example of someone who's trying to figure out what's the capitalist gain from being out there in space. We just cannot put our eggs in that basket. We cannot just assume that somehow somebody with all this money is going to rescue us with some big technological plan. And it's not that we don't want to be seeking a multiple array of technological solutions, but that does not mean that we can ignore it and think somebody with money will rescue us.
A neighbor friend of mine the other day said, but I'm hoping for a tech solution. I'm like, well, everyone's hoping for a tech solution, but so far it hasn't come, and we can't wait.